Ryobi cordless reciprocating saw. Didn't come with a battery, but I have one. Pull the trigger, nothing happens. It's dead. But look what happens. There's a little window here and there's a fan on the motor, and if I push that motor around a little bit, tiny little bit, it works. And as long as it never stops in that dead spot, and so, and you can see I can't find that dead spot now, but as long as it never stops in that dead spot, it works. So I think there's a problem with the armature in the motor, which is ruining the contact somewhere. Could be a dodgy brush, I suppose, but whenever we get to that particular spot, it stops. And you can see it's not easy to find that spot, so I don't actually know any way of finding it other than just pure luck. And you can see all I'm having is good luck now, because I'm not finding it and it's working. It does feel underpowered though, so it does make me think that the motor's not working properly anyway. So let's take it apart and have a look. Right, screws are all this side by the looks of things, and there is a lot of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 screws by the looks of things. That's not one of them, that's one of them. Why are you not working? No. Am I overloading it? Oh, there it goes. But I want to go back this way. Oh. I don't think I've ever seen a tool with this many screws in it before. Oh. Come on, you can do it. Oh, that was tight. Oh, that's tight as well. Right, I think that's them all out from this tee. No, that's all out. There. Yep, I think that's all of them out. Let's pull the loose ones out that are already trying to be loose. No, that one doesn't want to come out. Oh, got it. What about you? Yep, all coming out. Some of these are a little bit too far down in a hole to get out, I think. Yeah, what about that one? You're going to come out. Yep, that one's going to come out. I think some of these others are not going to shift yet. Right, let's try. Oh, no, what else? Is there another clip anywhere? No, can't see a clip. Everything loose. There he goes. Ah, sticker. Wonder if we can get that sticker off. Right, I've put a little bit of isopropyl alcohol on it, and it's allowing me to lift it off. Obviously it was a little bit loose anyway, judging by the dirt underneath it. That's the sticker out of the way. What happens now? Does this... Oh! It's going to move. Right. Let's get that way before all the bits fall out. Right, lift that over there. And that is what we've got. Nice big chunky motor. Switch. That's some kind of lock. And then all this bit is the jiggle backwards and forwards mechanism. Not quite sure what this is. Sort of padding perhaps. That's the blade holder. What goes there then? It looks like there should be something in there. And there's another thing. Oh, that's part of the locking mechanism. Because it's... Well, I won't turn it over to show the locking mechanism at the moment, because it's all going to fall out, but... Right. So, where's the best place to start? Let's see what happened with the rest of these screws. Are they all out now? Because I don't want to start washing this and discovering that I've washed them down the sink. There's one there. Oh, that one doesn't want to move. Why don't it want to come out? It doesn't make any sense. Oh, right. Any more blocking any holes? Can't see any more. Oh, yes I can, there's one there. Oh, there it goes. Oh, and another one here. It's certainly got some screws in it. Right, now, have we got them all? I think we have. I think we've finally got them all. Right, so that can be cleaned now. So that half of the case can be cleaned. Right, how we get these screws out of the way. So that's all the screws. Right, now this doesn't look like it's held in by anything. Looks like it just lifts out. We've just got what looks like a sort of wiry cover there. I'm not quite sure why we need that metal bit there. Right, let's carefully lift this latch out. So that's hooked in the top of the switch. There's like a little button on a spring that sits in there. That sits in the top of the switch, so that goes there. Then we've got the switch, and like I say, that comes round here, but for some reason the final wires are under that metal plate. That's the battery holder. To get that off we'll have to unsolder it. It looks like that's done by soldering. There's the motor. You can see where it's beginning to turn the top. Can probably get a number of the motor in case the motor needs fixing or just replacing. Right, so we need to undo that. Looks like quite a small... Let's see what that is. Oh yeah, that is small. Right. Try and lift that out without losing the screws. Right, so that's that plate and its two little screws. Yeah, well, it just protects those wires, I suppose, because the battery's going to go in and out there all the time. I'm just surprised they used a metal plate. We've got a red one, a black one, another red one and a white one, so they all go in there. And then on this side we've got red and black coming down this side and red and white going down that side, and then they squeeze into these little channels. The white one is well squeezed in. Right, then we get round here, red and white continue along here to the motor as there, and then these are shaped to go up through. So they're going up through there. Oh, right. So that's that. So that's all that bit. And then it's just this messy bit. I don't know, we'll put that up there. Then we'll lift. Come on, you can do it. Lift. It's getting caught somewhere. Maybe that quick release mechanism is, yeah, that's how it feels like it's pulling on the other side. Let's have a look. What holds that on? That's, oh, there we go. And I've knocked that all over. Right, and that's the other half of the case, so we can clean that. And then this, whoa, is a bit of a filthy mess. So that's our latching mechanism. You can see what it does is it just pushes that prong, look, and goes down. That opens it, blade can go in, let go, it locks the blade in place. I'm still not sure about this foot piece. I can't quite see why that is threaded but there's got nothing in it. I'll have to try and find a picture online and see if that's supposed to have anything on it. Right, and then we've got, there's the end of the motor drive, I should think. It's a good sized motor. So I should think to look at the motor we need to undo these two. Right, let's see if these two screws are holding the motor on. Oh, that one's tight. Oh. 1, 2. There's a strange smell coming off of this, almost like gas, which is a bit a bit odd. Right. So I think I can see what the problem is. I would show you, but I don't think you're going to be able to see into the motor. It's a bit dark in there. I'll wait until later when I look on the video playback. But there should be a brush down there, and all there is a piece of brass rubbing on the commutator. The end of the brush is gone. Right, I've cut this heat shrink back a little bit, and it's really thick and gooey heat shrink. Right, that's that bit off. That's that off. Right, we should be able to get a soldering iron on there now. I don't know what gauge this wire is, but it's quite decent quality wire. Come on, out you come. Oh. There you go, that's that one. And the red one has got a red dot on it, which is quite handy. Alright, we need to do the same thing on this one. Let's bend that over. It's getting hot already. Oh, there we go. Right, I think that's all of them more or less loosened. I've been prying on this for about 10 minutes and just now it popped. I think it's very tight on this middle shaft and that's why it... there it goes. I think it must have been very tight on that bearing, which is a bit strange, but still. But even now, the brush holder, I suppose it's got hot, but now maybe you can see what's happened. There's what looks like a brush broken in half. Don't know how well you can see it, but that's a brush broken in half. And this side, there's no brush at all. That's the sprung arm, and the whole end of it, which should have the brush on it, is gone. Now this should pop up. Oh yeah, so it's moving now. Right, so you will be able to get a better view in a moment. Right, there you are then. One heavily smashed brush, it's split in half completely, and one that's gone. This should be that long, so about another 6 or 8 mil perhaps. So the rest of it must be in there somewhere, or it's been chewed to bits and spat out. I didn't have a puller suitable size for this to pull it off of there, so I just made up this puller and it has managed to just about pull it off. But if you look at the shape that has become already, that's one pull. I couldn't make that any thicker because it had to fit behind there. So that was the absolute thickest it could be. It would have been nice if it could have been as thick as this, but it couldn't. So it's bent it, but at least that's off. So I can take the rest of this apart. Now, just as a reminder to myself, which may never matter at all, I'm just going to pull these washers off. This is the commutator end, because I always forget to check. So I've got 1, 2, 3 little brown washers and a bigger, well, it looks like it's a slightly black colour, but it doesn't matter. So that's at that end, so that's the commutator end, and obviously that was at that end as well. And now I should be able to pull this out, but this is, crikey, why is that so stiff? Oh, there's a bearing. Yeah, so it's quite a good quality motor in that sense. I've actually got a bearing in the end of it. Right, cover your ears, I'm going to tap this on the bench. Nothing. Right, that's mostly pressed out. I can probably tap the last bit out just holding on to it. Get ready to catch it. I think that's out. I think the magnet's actually stopping it flying out. God, that magnet's strong. A nasty groove in that magnet there, but it's funny because it seems to be sticking out that way. You'd think if it was going to have a groove it would be inward, not outward. Unless both sides... Oh, that one's perfectly smooth, and that one has got a... No, that's obviously meant to be there. That's some kind of ridge. I don't know why. And oh, it's that's loose, that outside cover. I can feel something loose in my fingers. Now, is that a natural colour, or has that been getting hot? But you can see the damage to this is quite tremendous, because if we compare that to the brushes, I mean, there's what's left of that brush, and that one's gone completely. How that worked on there, I do not know. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. It's a testament to the quality of the overall thing, I suppose, that even in a terrible state, it still ran. Yeah, I think the whole thing has been overheating. I could have a go at repairing this, but I've found it very difficult to get any spares for things like this, so we may have to do a bit of searching and find out if we can buy that motor. As you can see, I've been digging off some of the grease from this bit, so at least you can actually see what's going on here. I'll clean it better now, but I've wanted to get the worst of the muck out. I've just dug it all out from in here. It's a mixture of sawdust and grease, I guess. So that lot's going in the bin. But I bet I can't get this underneath them to lift that up. Oh, it's coming up. Right, so there's one off. You can see how small they are. I don't like the way they stretch and stay apart. Right, well, a fair bit of swearing later. It's up in the air a bit there. Ah, there we go. Oh, done it. Oh no, that one has sprung back to the right shape again, so that one didn't, but that one has. Right, so we've got, for that one we've got a washer, and this one I don't think we've got a washer, so let's have a look. Why don't you want to lift up? Yeah, well, that's strange. I thought this would all lift off once that was out, but apparently not. Maybe we didn't need to undo this then, because the pin has fallen down the bottom. I can see it down there, but there's no way to get it out. And this pin, it must be a press fit onto there, so that's not going to come out. Ah, maybe this lifts out. Maybe we don't need those two, but we've got the same problem at this end. That's another one of those really small, same size as that one. Let's see if we can get that one in there. I think the answer... Oh! The answer's going to be the same as last time, isn't it? Two picks at the same time. Because clearly the circlip pliers are almost impossible. Let's lift it up. Now, if we can get that under there to keep that lifted, can we get this one to lift up?
Ah, it's gone.
You won't believe this, it pinged off and shot across the workshop. I didn't think I'd ever see it again, but I found it. So that came off of there. And that might mean that... No, it still doesn't mean that that will pump out. I think that must be a press in. Oh well, we'll worry about that in a minute. Right, so what's behind here? No, not a lot. But it allows that to lift up. So what's Is that underneath it as well? So that must all lift up in one lump, I think. But this, this will lift up now. So that will now lift off, and that is the pin that was underneath it. I'll just poke that underneath so that we know where that went. So that pin was in there, that was on top of there, that was there, that was there, that was on the other side, right. Not a lot more to clean, is there? So we can clean these bits separately. Let's just, yeah, that bearing's perfect. There's no, it's silent, no roughness, no free play in anything, so that's fine. So I think we'll leave that alone. We just need to clean this without using any solvent so we don't get anything into the bearing. I always leave these bearings alone if I can, whether it's a bearing in an aluminium housing, because you've only got to get the bearing to stick a little bit and refuse to come out, and before you know it you've broken the aluminium housing. But I think the rest of that's going to clean up okay. This obviously doesn't do anything now it's off, because its only function is to move that. I'm just going to use a small amount of what in the UK is known as white spirit. Don't know what they call it around the rest of the world, but literally a tiny amount just to get some of the grease off. Right, all stripped down. I'll put a drop of oil on it for now, but when it comes to the final assembly I'll put some grease on it, and on there like that. This one on there like that. This was on there like that. That one in there like that. Oh. Drop of oil on it. That was in there like that. And we know that this, which is relatively clean, was on there. And this little clip that changed shape a little bit was on the top. So we just need to get that back on there, but preferably looking more like its proper shape. Bingo! We're on. And I think that has pretty much closed up where it's supposed to be. So I think we're okay on that score. So that's good. At the moment though I will put these back on, assuming we can pop them back on easily. Might be able to. This one's slightly tapered I think, so there we go, so that's gone on okay. And then this one needs to go on there, but I want to put a tiny drop of grease on it first. So That's a tiny drop. It's quite difficult to do with this brush. That'll do. That's a little tiny drop of grease. And the underside of these, I assume that that is the underside. That's always going to be the hard part to reach. So I'll put a little bit of grease on there. A little bit of grease on there. A little bit of grease on there. And then a little bit of grease on these bits. Because when they're down in there, the underside might be difficult to get to. Right, now where are these? What am I doing wrong? That's not going in there. Ah, there we go. Oh. It's squared itself off. I'm just putting enough on to keep it protected at the moment. Now that, I think, must have been in the end here. So we want that to sit in there where it drops down. You've got to get too many things lined up at once. Come on, down. There we go. Down, down. There we are, we're all in line. Yep, I must wipe that, I think, to try and keep the grease inside here when we grease it. There didn't seem to be a huge amount of grease in there before, but I think we'll probably put a little bit more later. But like I say, I'm not going to fill this up with grease yet. Now, it's worth mentioning, because this has caused me a lot of problems with the motors. There's the motor. Those two holes have got to line up with those two holes so that you can bolt the motor on. So the thread for these two bolts, which is M4, has got to be M4. Now when you start searching for motors to match this motor, you find M3, M4, no, M3.5, M4 and M5. So you need that to be M4. And then the vast majority of the motors I found, this here, across there, was 17.5 millimeters, but this one is 15, and so is that gap there. So you can only use 15 millimeter Boss there, so that motor's got to have that. These have got to be at the right distance, and they've got to be M4. So getting a motor is proving more difficult than I expected. Right, we've got this plate next, so that sits on there. I'm not sure what that little pip's for. Luckily this lines up because this ripped, and it lines up with that bit and that bit. It's some kind of foam piece, perhaps it's to help stop this whole thing shaking when it's in the case, not sure about that. I'm just putting these in loosely by feel first so that they're going in okay. There's no sign of Loctite or anything on them, so I'm going to assume that that's okay like that. This one gets a bit tight on its own, I don't know why. I'll check those later with a you know, by freehand torque screwdriver, but I think that's okay. Oh, that feels very, very silky and nice. I've decided I will grease this in a minute, and what I'll do is I'll put the whole thing in a plastic bag. I'll mention this while we're here. This looks like it's got an indentation. It's not easy to see, but it's almost as if something round pressed against it. Now the problem is, did something round press against it, or is it the marks from where that hole is? Because that fitted in there like that, and it was a tight fit until I cleaned all the goo out of it. It appears to sit there, and that is threaded, but there's nothing there. That seems to be an M10, so I don't know if there should be some sort of fixture or bolt or something, because this is going to fall out. So I'm not sure what's supposed to be there. Right, so there you are, we're more or less complete with that part. We just need our last little clip here on there, and again this one feels like it's fairly tapered, so maybe I can just push this one on. There we go, yes. Right, I'll put a tiny dab of grease up on the top there, and then what I'm going to do is, like I say, I will put some grease in here. And I think what we'll do is we'll put grease all around this rim, because when this gear is in there rubbing against it, it will constantly have grease on this edge and in those teeth. So I think that's what we'll try to do. Try and make sure that all of these teeth have got some grease on them. Now, there's no cover. If this had a nice cover over it, that would protect it considerably, but there is no nice cover. It relies on the case for its protection, and of course the case is full of little holes to allow the motor to breathe or not overheat. It's just arrived, and I'm hoping it's a replacement for this. Now, I couldn't get the exact one of those, and even to find a close copy is very, very difficult. Fingers crossed this is it, but of course it might not be. So we are going to find out together. Crikey. Well, I give the Chinese their due, they wrap this up well. Now this was not a cheap motor, so hopefully it wasn't money wasted, hopefully it was money well spent. Well, it looks very similar, that's all I can say, because of course this one had that inside it and this on this end, and of course that was completely kaput and burnt out, and that was all burnt, and you know, that's had it. So I'm hoping that this is a suitable replacement. It looks like it could well be, and it's not as easy as you'd think, because the original has got a bearing in there, and so this needed a bearing in here. These two holes need to be the same distance apart and the same thread. This spindle needs to be the same diameter as that one, which looks like it's not. But the other thing is that this, the diameter of that, is vital. So the spindle here, right through to there, is 5, and then it turns down. Why would they do that? Oh, hold on. Oh, this is locked. That's... that's never going to work, is it? That is locked solid. Oh dear. That is not going to turn. If I try turning that on, I'm going to be in a terrible state. If I get a stick, give you some idea of how stuck that is. But if I hold it at this end and pull, I can't turn it. That's how tight it is. Look, it's bent like mad and I can't turn it. Obviously I can push it like that, but even that is hard. That is never going to go round. Right, I've done a little bit of tapping with this and I've managed to free the spindle up. I don't know if you can see that moving in there, but I can turn the spindle by hand, so I can feel the magnetism in there, but other than that it's turning okay. I'll hold on to that. If you watch that, you'll see that turning. That's at slow speed. So, with a bit of luck, that motor is going to work. It must have got a bit of a bang on the way here, I guess, from China, a bit shaken about or something. But it looks like it will work. So that's a relief, because I just sent a message to the seller to say I'm stuck and it doesn't work. So fingers crossed that will work. These are the 2 bolts that I've got to be able to screw in. They look like they're going to be the right thread. We don't know if they're the right distance apart at the moment, but they look like they're going to be the right thread. And then we need to know, is this going to be the right distance across here? Which it is, it's 15, which is what we want, so that's going to be okay. So, we just need to sort that out, because I misread. This is my fault. I misread. I thought this was 5, and in fact it is. I mean, it's 5 down there, if I could get it. For some reason, this part has been machined smaller. I thought all these came as 5, but obviously not. So that's not going to work. We've got to find a way around that. That's the cog. I've just made this. It's 3.9 in the middle, so it should be a press fit on there. It won't go on at the moment. Might have to make it slightly bigger, I don't know. And on the outside it's 5.1, so it doesn't quite want to go into there either. I think what I'll do is I'll press this into here before I worry about getting that onto there. Right, I'm just using the vice to press these 2 together. At first it was a bit hard going, but it is going on now. Right, that's on nice and tight. So that's in, so that's flush there. That's on there. And we just need this to fit on the motor. Right, as I suspected, now that that's been pressed into there, this is not 3.9 anymore. A 3.9mm drill will not go in. Right, 3.9 fits on there easily now. It's got no slack whatsoever that I can feel, but it's on there. So it's probably going to feel pretty tight. Yeah, so it's not going to go onto there. Now I'm not sure if 0.1 is a bit optimistic of a clearance for something that's this small. I think it might be, but I don't really have a way of changing this, and I don't want to start machining that, so I'm sort of stuck because I haven't got anything between 3.9 and 4. And of course if I take that to 4 and then it becomes a loose fit, then it's no good. Right, that's pressed on. I didn't show you the pressing on because it's so awkward to get to my press and press this at the same time that it's really not all that easy to do. Right, this is the piece it has to fit on, which is why all the measurements had to be right, because that's got to fit in there. And then when that fits in there, it's obviously got to clear all of this, and it's got to fit exactly in that hole, and the screws have got to go through, and all of this has got to line up. So you can see that there's a whole load of things that we need to all agree with each other, which would have been great if we could have just bought the original motor, but I couldn't buy the original motor. It doesn't seem to exist. To do these up and hope that they're all in alignment. Well, that one is going in. And that one is going in. Do that nice and tight. Can always come back with some Loctite later to try it out. I'll just throw the screwdriver on the floor. Right. So that's on there tight. Now obviously when that motor turns, it will turn this big cog, and that will all go in and out. And you can see that the grease I put in there is now all over there, so that's self-greasing. Positive cable soldered on, negative cable going on. Put a nice lump of solder on there. Right, so that's our 2 power cables on our motor. Right, I remember this time I've got to try and get this hook bit through that little window, because if you don't get that little hook bit through the window, it won't go in, and it's almost impossible to hold on to and get it down where the window is, because your fingers won't fit. Chinese must have small fingers. I can't get my finger out. Ow! That's it, I think that's gone in. Alright, so now this, there it goes, these are twist round till it sits in. Right, I think that's in. I had to get this thing out of the way because that was a nuisance, and I still haven't found out how to put that in, because of course I haven't got that bit. I think that's all in where it needs to be. It feels like it's in. Now we just need to work out where all of these bits go. That went in there. That presumably goes in there. I just need to tidy up all these wires. Right, that's the wires in. They're a bit of a tangle at this end, so I'm not 100% sure if that's how they went, but it looks close enough. That metal plate looks like it goes there. So that one goes in there. Presumably that's to keep the wires well away from the battery. And that one in there. Come on. Oh, that's tight. Right, now we've got this, which you can't really get wrong because of the shape. So that goes in there and works on this, I think, just blocks it, I suppose. Yeah, look, when it's there it blocks it, when it's there it doesn't, so that blocks it. And this gives it a little bit of clickiness, so I think that just goes in there like that. I just need to poke that down, and then that's our button, which I can't, oh there it goes, so that just makes it click. So that's down, so that's in. So in theory the top should fit on, and I think we can still get to that bit with the top on. A 10mm bolt will fit in there. Now obviously there isn't room to put a bolt in there, and I haven't got anything like a 10mm bolt with a hex key, but what I could do is I could cut a piece off the end of here, put a slot in it, and then it would go into that hole and hold this in place. Right, one little slotted bolt made. I've made it about the right length, I think, and it's literally just the end of the bolt. You can see where the end of the bolt was, and that should fit in there because it did before. I've got this more or less lined up where I think it was originally, and I've made the slot big enough to take a fairly big screwdriver. So if I screw that in, just crunch it down a little bit, then that should be in lock solid. That's not quite flush, and there is a hole in the other piece of the case to get through to there. So in theory this should fit on here. Now I like to make sure that everything is sitting where it needs to be rather than being forced to where you want it to be. Right, that seems to be okay. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14. Right, all back together. Battery in. Right, that way. Whoa! Let's have a look at the business end. Hopefully you can see the end move. Right, found a blade. Looks like I've used this for cutting metal. Still got some teeth left on it, and they're not super sharp, but they're sharpish. So in theory I turn that to there, that goes in there, and that's it. Won't come out. Right, this is a piece of 8mm steel. I regularly cut this stuff, so I've got a good idea the effort is required to cut it with a hacksaw, because normally I'm too lazy to go down to the other part of my workshop and use the saw that's down there. So let's see what happens. I think that's pretty successful. Wow! One fixed reciprocating saw. Good to go.